Well, as you can see here, we have some very thick frost, and it's quite late in the afternoon. And here's the bird bat. Look at that. I'm going to take this ice out of here. Look at that. So the bird bat, so the birds can actually have something, but I need to clean it out. But there you go. So I'm going to give that a bit of a washout now in a minute, but that just goes to show you how cold it's been. It actually got down to -8 degrees Celsius yesterday, and I can't remember what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's pretty low. You would not want to be sleeping out in it, and unfortunately there are people who are. But it's attracting in lots and lots of bird life here, because I'm putting food out all the time. I actually have to go and buy more food now to put out for them. But just up here, there's a beautiful starling. They're common birds, of course, everywhere in the world now. But they are lovely and interesting. But you have to be very careful walking on the path at the moment. Here's just, look at that. That's a good bit of ice. So it's like dropping crockery. There's a bit of fun to that. Now you can see the birds are coming over to get what I put on the roof. I only put a few things out. I gave them lots of bread earlier. Gave them old out-of-date sausages. These are rooks. Very intelligent crows. They wouldn't be as big meat eaters, but in winter now they'll take what they can get. Oh, they're lovely though. Hetty, my favourite crow. I haven't seen her in a while, but she used to come and be fed by hand. Look at that. Like filling their crops. They're worried, you see, in case there isn't more put out. And what I actually put out is Polish water or crackers or whatever. Bruschetta or something they're called. We get lots of them now because we have a large Polish community in the country. So we're getting directly from Poland lots of interesting snacks we wouldn't normally get in Ireland. And watch under the neck, because that's the crop. Because that's where they start to, when that gets swollen, it means they're storing food. They're not swallowing it. Oh. Once again, there's a lot of contrast. They're in a dark place, kind of. There's a little bit of sunlight. Nope, that one's actually eating the food. It's not storing it as crop, from what I can tell. There's a load of them up here on this. Now when I go away, they're a bit nervous of me, but if I walk away they'll all come down. Yeah, so they're all flying in now to see what they can get. But I'm going to leave them to it. I don't want to be scaring them. It's the camera, you see. The camera looks kind of aggressive because it's like pointing a gun or something at them. They just know. I mean, human beings and crows have had very long relationships for a very long time. In fact, well, ravens particularly followed the armies because they would eat the dead after battles. But of course other birds would follow the armies to get food, any scraps of food that were left, because armies would pitch their camps. When they moved on, they'd leave their food waste behind and the birds would come down and eat it. And of course in modern times we kind of do the same, only we're in fixed abodes. We're not moving around so much. And we, although we don't have castles, we have our own little castles, which are our cottages and our apartments, if we have apartments or whatever, or parks. So we tend to stay put. But if anybody who camps knows that if you go out camping, and one of the first things you'll notice if you walk away from a campsite, if you have been foolish enough to leave anything behind, which you shouldn't be, but you'll often notice when campers pick up, there's something they forget. But even if they don't, the birds come down to search. So you'll see crows coming down to campsites looking to see if there's anything left behind. And it's the same with teenagers in villages today. If you see a group of teenagers all hanging around on the street, as soon as they move on, watch and you'll notice crows and other birds, starlings, coming down to examine where they've been sitting. So because they're hoping to get food waste. And teenagers, of course, are terrible for leaving bits of food behind them, whether it's pizzas or crisps or burgers or, you know, bits of chips, whatever. Anyway, so that's it, another day, and it's to get very cold. The sun is already setting and it's only quite early in the afternoon. I mean, what is it? It's just after 3 o'clock p.m. But see, the crows are hoping I've got more food, so they're flying above me here. They're just keeping an eye. Some are friendlier than others. That was a dove. Doves too are hoping I might have some food. I am going to have to get way more food for them now because the cold snap came early this year, and I really don't want to leave the birds hungry. I love to see them come down. It's one of the nicest things. One of the nicest things you can do is put food out for the birds and watch them come down to eat it. And you never know what birds you're going to get. It's really exciting. Well, it is for me anyway. But it's a good way to learn about birds as well. If you don't know anything about them, get a field guide. Winter is when I learned when I was a small kid. I just had a field guide, beautiful field guide by I think it was Michael Chinery. Lovely illustrations in it. And when it snowed, we had some very big snows back then, in the 80s. My sport basically was looking out the window, because TV got boring after a while, but looking out the window and seeing what magical bird would come down out of the hills, and you could see all sorts of creatures you just never normally see in your garden. So let's see what the weather brings.